I'm Schimp, and this is my story. In May 2009, Ryan and I got married, and about a year and a half after we got married, we decided that we were ready to start a family. So after a year of trying and not getting pregnant, we had some testing done to see if it was on Ryan's end or my end, and it ended up being me. We had to take some fertility medicine for a little while, and I definitely struggled with that. I felt like, if I did this, am I really believing God for my kid? Am I really trusting Him? So I ended up taking the medicine, and it didn't work. I was referred to a fertility specialist, and I was diagnosed with a mild case of endometriosis, and I had to have a procedure done. I thought that after this procedure, everything was going to be completely fine. And when we went for our follow-up, we were told that we only had a 20% chance of getting pregnant on our own. I knew that even though the doctor said that our chances with God were still 100%. We waited a while, and I still was struggling with, should I do this? Should I not do this? We decided to do the artificial insemination. We did it 2 times, and it didn't work. And it was definitely hard going through that, seeing all of your friends and your family getting pregnant and having children of their own whenever you are desiring it so much yourself, and it just wasn't happening for you. Mother's Day 2014 was my breaking point, and it was the turning point for me. We were at Ryan's parents, and we were getting ready to leave, and I just broke down, and I was crying, and Ryan and his mom started praying for me, and the presence of God got so thick in that room. I had experienced the presence of God, but not on this level. And I just cried out to God, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. And next thing I know, I'm laughing and I'm crying, and I kept wiping my eyes, and I was seeing this like sparkly stuff. And I said to Ryan's mom, I was like, what is this? And she's like, it's the scales being taken off your eyes. And it was just like all that bondage and everything that I was in was just completely broken. And it was like a literal weight had been lifted off of me. Like I could feel it. And this went on for a couple hours. And one thing that God told me was that I was going to have a son, and that I was to name him Nathaniel, and that I was going to have children, and that I needed to tell the world my story. From that point on, things were different. I had a knowing, because God promised. It's like I knew that we were going to have kids. I wasn't pregnant that next month or the next month after that, but it was just I had that peace, and I just stood on that God's promises are yes and amen. We went back in October and to see what our next step was, and the fertility specialist told us it would be to do in vitro. After we left there, I was just looking at the price sheet, and I'm just like, how are we going to do this? Like this is crazy. And at that moment, I actually was expecting, but I didn't know it yet. I did end up miscarrying, and the doctors wanted to find out why I had miscarried. I had miscarried because the baby had an extra chromosome. I remember we went and seen Pastor Chad, and I told him about what happened to me on Mother's Day. And one thing Pastor Chad said to me was, no matter what happens, you still have the promise. And I held on to that, and I was like, it's right. Whenever we were going through all those hard appointments, one night when Ryan and I came home, the light was on in the nursery, and we didn't remember leaving that light on. And at that moment, I felt like God had told me that my light still shines. In March, we actually conceived, and on Easter, we found out that we were pregnant. And it was just, it was awesome. I had an amazing pregnancy, and whenever we found out that I was having a girl, I wanted to name her Nora. I looked up what Nora meant, and it means light, and it couldn't have been more fitting because God gave us a second chance to have a daughter. Whenever we decided that we wanted to have another child, within a month we were expecting, and when we found out we were having a boy, of course we were going to name him Nathaniel. And every time I look at Nora and Nate, I'm just reminded of God's promise, feels what He says He's going to do. The takeaway from this for me is, if God has gave you a promise, do not give up on it. What He says He's going to do, He's going to do. My family and I, we are living proof of that.